No one is going to mess with my dream. That does remind me a lot about passion, right? No one's going to mess with my passion. No one's going to mess with my dream. And sometimes I have to say that to myself. Don't mess with your own passion, Liza. Don't mess with your own dream. Because sometimes we forget, as the song says, it is a gift that I want to share to the world. No one's going to mess with my dream. You may not know my name. You don't need to know my name. It's my dream to give to the world. Thank you so much for sharing that. When Mindy sent me an, yes. I felt so honored when Mindy asked me if we could do this song on this Sunday, and I thought it's perfect to round out Passion Week. Oh, let me grab my clicker. Because I want to start with this quote. Anything that gets your blood racing is probably worth doing. Hunter S. Thompson. You know, he was this guy that also said skidding through life. Yes. Anything that gets your blood racing is probably worth doing. When was the last time that you felt your blood racing? Was it recently? Yes. 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 I know that I see some books here. So I know that there's been some blood racing through veins. And I know Jim's been out blood racing through your veins dancing. I know you have. I love this quote because it reminds me that the passion that I feel within, sometimes I confuse that racing with fear. And that while it's racing and getting me going, it might also actually hold me back at times because I'm not sure that I'm ready for it. And that's why I love this picture, because this guy just jumps right in, right? I don't know what's down there. I'm trusting that nothing's going to happen, but I am in. And that's how we need to feel about the own passion, our life, our love. That's the kind of blood racing, moving forward, no matter what, nothing's going to mess with my dream kind of mentality that we need to have. I started to think about people who have had that remind me of passion. And this is called The Hand of God by Rodin. And I remember seeing this when I was at the Rodin Museum in Paris. And I felt so touched by a lot of his sculptures, you know, the Thinker, the Kiss, the Gates of Hell. Like you see the sort of that raw passion that he has. And in this one, I don't know if you can see in the back, but there's in the very back, it's like Adam and Eve. It's the hand of God molding Adam and Eve, molding it. And I started to think about what it was that made him make this out of marble. So what do you think this is? It's the hand of God. That is also the hand of God. This is what he saw in order to be able to sculpt that beautiful image that he had in here. This is also the hand of God. This is the Sistine Chapel. It took Michelangelo 4 years on his back to make this. Imagine the dedication and the passion that he had in order for this, that we still see centuries later. And do you know what that is? That too is the Sistine Chapel. See, whatever it is that we envision, we can create. And sometimes I think we confuse that we have to know what the creation is before we actually move towards it. And sometimes we just need to look at that blank slate, at that blank, Jackson Pollock just saw his image and put it on the canvas, right? He wasn't thinking about what am I going to paint? What should I do? He looked at the canvas, already knew what was going to happen. This is Robbie's song, My Dream. And this blank sheet of music is also my dream. This is where it starts. And I say all this because passion is what molds that marble into a sculpture, that ceiling in the Sistine Chapel into this artwork, a song, a blank sheet of music into a song that gets a lot of people moving. That's passion. That's dedication. That's something that you have within yourself. Because really, not only are we looking at a blank music sheet, or are we looking at a marble, we ourselves are that marble. We ourselves are that blank music that we get to create and get to expand. And as Andrea said, be an expression of, not just of the self, but what am I out there expressing? Howard Thurman says, ask what makes you come alive and do it, because what the world needs is more people to come alive. This is what we need to ask ourselves. What is it that makes me come alive? What is it that moves me into something, into that next thing, into that next phase of what it is that I am to discover about myself, really, right? Because Robbie, as he's writing this song, is not just writing a song. He's peeling, he's uncovering a little more of himself. Would you say that's true? Sure. He agreed. But it is. Anytime, Craig, you write music as well. Wouldn't you say when you are writing, you're discovering a little bit more? Stan, also. You're discovering more about yourself. Marilyn, Dr. Karen, when you guys were writing, Dr. Nancy, when you guys were writing your books, first of all, you're probably looking at a blank screen with a cursor going, what am I writing? What am I doing? And then it just flows, does it not? And when you're done, you discover more about yourself, don't you? And that is the beauty. That is exactly what Howard Thurman is talking about here. We need more people to come alive. And how is it that you come alive? You peel that onion that is you into something bigger and grander. And then you get to that space, and guess what happens? You do it again, right? You do it again. I have to tell you, I was going to write an article called From Bats to Bright Lights. And I'll tell you why, because I found some bats in my house, but that's not the story I'm going to tell. That's for another one. But in the midst of all that, I get a call from Diane Kerman saying, we're doing a public service announcement, and I think that you would be great to play this character. I have never acted in my life, ever. I act up in life, but I don't act. I am not an actor. And I will tell you, I was nervous and excited, and my knee-jerk reaction was like, you should probably look for somebody else who actually is good at this. But then I thought, well, it scares me. I'm going to do it. And talk about passion. Watching Diane and Stuart make me feel welcome. Watching their passion for making movies, for directing and for producing, watching their passion allowed me to express in a whole new way that I didn't even realize that I could. I just went in it for the adventure, because I will always say yes to an adventure. Maybe not right away, but I will always say yes. And I will tell you, that was such an amazing experience for me to go, I can say yes to things even though I'm scared, because I also know that I'm surrounding myself with people that will be there for me if I really can't let go of the reins. And I think... And I did, and thank you for saying that. Diane was just saying that it looked like I didn't have fear, but trust me, there was one take where I did this. And Stuart goes, what are you doing? I go, I think my character's drunk. But I wasn't. I was nervous. That's what happened. And I say this because that's exactly what this community is too, isn't it? This is what our community is all about. It gives us the ability to explore ourselves in new and bold and brazen ways that we've not done before, to explore maybe a passion that we don't know that we have, but know that we are supported by people around, by great ministers, great doctors, great friends that will hold our hands at times where we feel like, I don't know if I can do this, but I'm going to try. Because you know what happens? You come alive. Oh, I love that. Yes, I know you two support each other a lot, all the time. And that's what this community is all about. And that's what we search for in ourselves, not only because I want to experience my own passion. Yes, that's true, and I know that's true for each and every one of you, wanting to experience that more, that desire, that passion. And when you have a community that allows that, boy, fire. It's amazing. As we're rounding out this last week of passion, or this last week in the month of passion, I went back to look at everyone's talks, starting with Dr. Karen's, even though you weren't August, but you were July, but it was still about igniting the spark, igniting that spark within you, which allows that passion to flow through. And then, listening to Thor. And Thor, I have to say, I love the Xanadu song because it just took me back to middle school for me, and I loved it. And I actually did not know the whole story behind Xanadu and about how the poem was to be written, and then it stopped being written because, tell me the name again. Right. So got interrupted, didn't finish this beautiful poem. And it made me think of an equation. Now, I am not math, but every now and then, like, an equation shows up in my head. And what I thought about when Thor said that, it's like the self, what he was saying was the self times passion minus distraction equals desire, right? So the self times passion minus distraction equals desire. The desire shows up. And the story that he was telling about how the poem of Xanadu was cut was because someone got distracted. And it made me realize that a lot of times we get distracted, don't we? So the equation that we have is the self plus distraction divided by passion equals whatever we got. And we have to take ownership of what it is that exists in our lives, right? Because we have to remember that in that, as Ernest Holmes says, the divine or the absolute is the absolute at the level of the relative. What does that mean? That means that God, the expression of God, is God no matter where, no matter what it is that you're doing. And a lot of times what we want to express is a higher version of ourselves, is a higher version of God, have that expression of the divine. But even when we're not expressing as high as we want to express, we are still expressing divinely. And I think what happens a lot of times is that we beat ourselves up mentally by saying, I'm not where I want to be. And then that becomes a big distraction. That becomes a pool of distraction that we sit in and don't allow ourselves to expand. Karen Wright came up to me last time I was here, which was in July. And I had mentioned something that I felt that I was getting too old. And she told me when she started the Greater Contribution, and it inspired me because I thought this was something that she had started a long time ago. But she didn't let age stop her from her passion. And it reminds me that nothing should stop you from your passion, right? Nothing. But we do get distracted. Dr. Eric talked about that fire in the belly, right? That tindering that happens, that we have to remember that we get excited about something that comes up. We get super excited. And for the writers, the musicians, for all of you, I'm sure there was that excitement that happened as you were writing your song or writing your book or doing whatever it is, or starting the Greater Contribution, whatever it is that you were excited about, or doing a film. And then all of a sudden there's like a lull that hits you, right? That's what Dr. Eric talked about 2 weeks ago, that suddenly you just kind of go, okay, well, maybe that wasn't for me. And that's the time where you stay committed to being alive, to staying alive, to bringing your passion to this world. That's the time that you do it. As we say, as our mission statement is, you do it now. You remind yourself that when you're in those distractions that keep you away from your passion, you remind yourself who you are and you do it now. You bring yourself back into that passion. The title of my talk today is Passion, a 4-letter word. And the reason I say that is because I came up with a lot of words for, passion. You've heard people say before, I hate something with a passion. And you know what I say? Why waste your passion? Right? Why would you ever associate passion with hate? 4-letter word. Fear is another one. And I'll tell you how that showed up for me this week. I have a passion for being a mom. I am so passionate about my kids, their education, guiding them, allowing them to be who they are and growing them. I have such a passion for them. And I've always believed that I love them dearly, and I have, I'm growing as myself. I'm also doing my own thing. And as I sent my son off to college, I realized that there was a huge identity that I had that I was losing, not because of him, but because of what I placed on our relationship. That term mom was somehow no longer valid, right? Like my subscription to momhood has been revoked, at least for one. I've got another one. And that I no longer knew how to be. And so I knew that I was passionate about being a mother. And suddenly I had the fear that I no longer was. Until I had to really, I sent an email out to my fellow practitioners. And that really helped me to reach out to my community to say, can you ground me in some truth here? Because I am still passionate about being a mother. And whatever happens with my son, I am still a mother. And that identity is, the fear of losing an identity is what showed up for me. And that the fear of losing that identity equaled the fear of losing a passion that I had, the passion of being a mother. And all of it, to your point, was a lie I told myself, right? How many lies do we tell ourselves of who we are because we create an identity that is our passion? And it can still be your passion. And if it gets taken away, it can still be your passion. And what I came to realize is to not confuse my passion with my identity, or with my identity with my passion. So anytime I have a passion, I don't identify as that passion. I know that it is something that passes and moves through me. The other word that I realized that was a 4-letter word for passion for me was love. Passion is something that we love. We love to do, and not only is it because we love to do something, but because we love the way it makes us feel when we're doing it. And we have to remember that that's the energy that we encourage within ourselves. Why? Because we know this world to be an energetic world. That what you put out into the world is what reverberates right back to you. So when we're doing something and when we're in passion and in love with what it is that we're doing, we're only accelerating that energy, that love energy that's out there, right? That's what we're committed here to do, is to accelerate that love energy that's out there. And then it comes back to us. So it's a two-way mirror. That passion, that love, coming right back to who we are. And not just for that, not just for ourselves. And I've said this before, it's a responsibility that we all have, not just to ourselves, but to our community and to the world at large, especially with everything that's going on. To not lose sight of the passion that we feel for love. Love, only love, no matter what. Marc Chagall says this, only love interests me, and I'm only in contact with things that revolve around love. I love that quote, because I also love his art. Soul. Soul is another 4-letter word that I found for passion. It moves my soul. It moves me into a different direction. It allows me to be something more, to remind me of who I am. That's my soul. That's my passion. And the last thing that I want to say, the last 4-letter word that I would like to use for passion is from. So many times people ask, what are you passionate about? What do you want to do with your passion? And what I invite you to think about today is what is the passion that you are bringing to something? Whether it be walking down the street, whether it be saying hi to somebody, do you do it with passion? Like Dr. Tiffany said last week, la pasión. right? La pasión. Do you come from a place of passion? Because when you come from a place of passion, and I want to say this, if you reserve passion for only those things that you feel passionate about, then how are you going to increase that energy of passion if you don't bring passion to even the smallest things in life? A smile, a walk, a hello, cooking, whatever it is. From passion. Bring from passion. Not just what are you passionate for? Where are you coming from in your passion? Federico Fellini said this: there is no end, there is no beginning, there is only the passion of life. And so what I want to say is, when I'm asked the question, what are you passionate about? And I say, I'm passionate about life. When you're asked the question, what are you passionate about? Remember that you're passionate about life. Because when you're passionate about life, you're passionate about everything. And passion shows up not as something that you're doing, but where you're coming from. And that passion continues out into the world, serving as love, as energy, as the elevation of life. And isn't that what we're committed to do? Yes. So I encourage you to come from love, from passion. Namaste. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.